You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Filmmaking Conversations with Damian Swaby. Listen to conversations with award-winning filmmakers, directors from the golden age of television, and creatives from the indie film community who continue to inspire the next generation of filmmakers. And now, over to your host, Damian Swaby.
Isabel, Ryan, how are you both doing today?
Great.
Good. Can't complain. One step ahead of the sheriff, as they say.
Oh, one step ahead of the sheriff. Explain to me, what does that mean?
I mean, it's basically just one step ahead of a deadline. Just barely keeping your head above water.
Oh, fair enough. That sounds like a positive way to have your day. It's got to be said, that's for sure. And Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. So same as Isabel. No rest for the weary. You know, each day brings its own little new adventures, particularly when it comes to deadlines.
What deadlines have you got happening at the moment?
I've got a picture for Universal that I'm working on editing, and they just wanted a whole new recut, and it's a whole thing. And you know, they wanted it 3 days ago. So, but they only told us this morning.
All right, that's good. You're doing some great stuff then if you're working with Universal, that's for sure. And I know both of you do great stuff with your company that is really, really, I believe, kind of like a voice for indie film in that way. And you've merged that with theatre. If both of you could tell us about your background and how you got into the arts.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going first. You're going first, Iz.
So yeah, I grew up in Colorado, and I started out going to drama school in London.
Oh.
I actually went to Guildhall. So after I graduated, I worked as a professional actress in London for a couple of years, doing a lot of theater. And then I moved back to the States. A friend of mine, who's an incredible playwright, his play was at the Royal Court, which is where I had my professional debut. He's a Chicago-based playwright. So he was like, come to Chicago. This is a really great community where actors and writers can start to, cut their teeth in and make really good work. So I was in Chicago for a couple of years, really doing a lot of theater. Started out with doing like some assistant directing and dramaturgy. And then I just sort of had a gut feeling I needed to move to New York. So I moved to New York, and then within my first year, I met Ryan, and we made our first short film, which I wrote and starred in, and then just sort of been making movies ever since. And I now work also producing for documentary TV, doing a lot of theater, still acting, and I'm just working on my first feature, which I'm directing with Ryan. So yeah. Excellent. Long and short of it.
Certainly keeping yourself busy, that's for sure, doing loads and loads of stuff. But how would you compare acting in the UK to acting in America?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's one thing I really respected about how I came up in London is that actors from the jump are really considered to are given respect in a rehearsal room in a way that it's not that it doesn't happen in the States, but I always said, like, at an audition in London, you walk in and the first thing the director or the casting director asks you is, oh, so what did you think of the script? So you'll sit down opposite and actually talk through your point of view on the script, the project, and then you'll maybe have a little read. Whereas in New York, you come in and they're like, so you got to stay like 10 feet away, do your monologue, get in and get out. So there's just a sort of, I always appreciate that approach because it's just much more on an equal setting.
That sounds amazing. I had no idea about that. And I can imagine how that is much more like an equal setting. The whole stay over there and I'm over here things doesn't really work well with me, because as you guys both know, it's a collaborative experience. So we have to nurture that and appreciate that and work with that. And Ryan, your background, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, I've kind of always wanted to make movies since I literally was like 3 years old watching Jurassic Park in a theater. I've never really wanted to do anything else with my life. I grew up in like a super blue collar home. Like I'm the only artist of the family. Like my dad's a retired New York City firefighter. My brother's a cop. My other brother was in the military. So like I'm the only one who did like the artist route, which is kind of fun. But yeah, I went to LaGuardia Performing Arts, and then after that, I went to the SUNY Purchase Film Conservatory, which was a whole blast of fun. That was quite an adventure. And then afterwards, came back here to New York and just started hustling. Trying to make my way. Directed a few commercials, directed some music videos, then tried to work on much bigger sets. 10, 15, $20 million movies,
Right.
Doing locations, whatever I could get a job doing. And then a few years later, I wound up getting some producing gigs on a couple of big pictures like Urge and Imperium. And then it was like shortly after that, it was like a few months after like the premiere of Imperium or Urge or one of those, that I met Iz. And she was like, yo, I have this badass script. And I was like, yo, can I make it? And then it just sort of just snowballed from there.
Excellent. And your family, like you said, a cop, a fireman, a military. What did they think about you being involved in the arts? How does that work around the dinner table when you have these discussions?
They're really, really supportive.
Oh, amazing.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I probably wouldn't be able to do all this without their support. They're kind of in lockstep with what I need to do. There's honestly never been a question. I know that's probably not the most dramatic answer.
No, if it's the honest one, it's the right one.
But they've just sort of been in my corner always. I think they've always been worried about, steady employment.
Yeah.
For sure. And an ability to be, sort of financially self-sufficient. But no, they've never been like, oh, don't do that.
So when you and Isabel met and she had this brilliant script that you wanted to direct, what film was this? What was the script called?
It was called For Marta. It was the first thing I had ever written for film. And it's a short film that's just about a young woman whose sister commits suicide, and we just follow her the 24 hours after that happens. So it was a personal script, but I also was, I've always been a writer, but screenwriting, as I'm sure you know, is a specific thing. So I was very nervous about whether or not this was going to translate. So Ryan's very sweet when he says I sent him a script that was I said was really good. I had no idea. So yeah, and I think we made a great little short that took us like 4 days to film in July up in the Heights and around New York City. Oh, that was a sweltering July.
It was really, really hot.
Oh gosh.
Walk up apartments, filming in. And then it did pretty well on the festival circuit and sort of went everywhere. So that was really gratifying.
Because when I watched it, I thought to myself, I wonder if this is a personal story. Like, where does this story come from? You said it is a personal story. Where exactly does it relate to you in your life?
I mean, I've struggled with mental health and depression, and there is a generational trauma in my family, specifically related to suicide, that comes from my grandfather. So it was a topic that was, that was very close to home, and I know also for Ryan as well. Just explore those, and grief in those 24 hours, that immediate aftermath, what that's like, because the textures are very different and there are some surprises in it. It's not all just, tears. And so, yeah, we just wanted to, I think, sink our feet into that moment.
And Ryan, tackling a subject that's close to your heart that you can relate to as a director, how does that differ from your process when you're directing other things?
That's a really good question, actually. I try to find, so like, for example, like, particularly a few years ago when I was directing a lot of commercials, I still try to find something that like really excites me in the material.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sort of a craft element, there's a sort of a technical element, or even a performance element, trying to like find a really specific performance in a beat, So I really try to look for something that excites me. I've definitely worked on some stuff that I found was just horribly boring, and it's a job. You just sort of have to power through it. Isabel knows. I mean, she's worked on numerous things where the writing's been, atrocious. And, she said to me, oh God, if only we could get our hands on this. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Oh, yes.
But for Marta, it was pretty easy. I mean, it was so close to my heart too. And as Isabel said, my experiences in my life and my past stuff. So it was, it was sort of when I read, I mean, I told you this, when I read her script, I was just like, we need to make this movie. Like, it just spoke to me. I was like, oh yeah, I know what this is. We need to make this, whether I'm directing or not, or whether she wants to direct, doesn't matter. Like, this movie needs to be made.
Excellent. I'm glad you made it. I'm so glad I enjoyed watching it, and the performances were, brilliant, as well as the writing and the directing. So was that the first film you came together to make for your company?
Yeah, that's sort of that's what got us going. Yeah, because afterwards we were like, we like doing this, and also I think we're pretty good at this. We should do this more.
Yeah. Good.
Really about the size of it.
And Ryan, tell us, what is the company about? What is your ethos, and what exactly do you guys do as independent filmmakers?
For me, the company is about telling stories with exceptional craft that the market doesn't realize it wants. I think there's so many times Isabel and I hear, oh well, this is unsellable, or this is the market doesn't want this, and I always say, you guys have no idea what the market is. You're just blowing smoke. If you make it with real craft and you're smart about it and you have a strategy, then no, you can actually really make headway. And I think that's Isabel has so many beautiful stories, and I do as well. It just then sometimes you get, oh well, this won't sell. This is a blah 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 blah. It's all lip service, and it's just sort of intellectual laziness, right? They just want to say that because they don't want to put in the work. Like, okay, no, this is worthy. This is actually really impactful. So now, how do we get somebody to watch this? And so Isabel was just like, final language. Fuck it, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it really screamed out to me when I saw "We make good stuff with fuck all" on your website, and I thought, well, I leave it for other people to say if I make good stuff, but I certainly make stuff with fuck all. So
no, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it. No, it's fine. It's just
no. I mean, I think like this is the position that so many of us independent filmmakers are in, is that we've learned with Ryan's feature directorial debut, Canvas, we've been talking to a lot of distribution companies, and there was one guy in particular, a really wonderful producer, and I really appreciated him taking time to explain some more of the business stuff to us. And something that he said was that, it's so hard now because the business model is wonky for independent films. So in the 90s, like Ryan and I love when we're in our cups at the bar to just like, oh, if we were like filmmakers in the 90s, with like that sweet spot budget of like 5 million, the dreamy movies we could make. The reason that they got to make that is because of things like Blockbuster. If you sell, like if you make your picture for like, I don't know, 50K, 75K, 100K, if you sell it and Blockbuster is like, super, we want one VHS tape in every Blockbuster in North America, that's a guaranteed $1 million deal just because of the production alone. So then you actually have money in the bank to then go and, sorry, fire engine.
That's okay.
Right next to the firehouse. And that's money that you have to then be able to pour into other projects, where what happens to what we're fighting against and what so many of our colleagues are is that you make a scrappy film and then Amazon is like, cool, you can just dump it onto our platform for $2 and hope you make your money back. And it's so hard anyways.
No,
so definitely feel you making stuff with fuck all.
Yeah, and from what I've read and what I've been told, if you put your film on Amazon, you're not, the chances without the marketing and everything behind you, you're not gonna maybe make something that's make amount of money that's gonna make you happy or make a difference in terms of making your next film. And then you know, it's tough, and it's great what you said about Blockbusters. I really loved going to Blockbuster Video, and we had Ritzy Video before that in the UK. And you know, your local kind of news agents you could rent videos from them also. So it was really good time, and we had that, like you say, in the mid-90s, you know, Clerks and all types of indie films at the time that were made for a certain amount of money and done really, really well. So in Martha, the film itself, does that cast, how did the cast come about and the crew?
I mean, I am stupendously lucky that I know so many incredibly talented actors. So I basically cast among people I knew, and I started to write roles for them. So Franco González, who plays Sam, he and I went to Guildhall together. I think he's the first Mexican to go to Guildhall. He's just a phenomenal actor. And so I sort of wrote the role for him, and then just sort of filled it out with other actors I had met at other studio classes and just been like, oh my God, that person is so incredible. Why are they not working? Let's write and make stuff for them. So, and then I think Ryan assembled a pretty fantastic crew.
Yeah, our brilliant DP, Ricky Caminello, he just together. We were fellow filmmakers. We started out our journey. He shot my senior thesis film, and then we worked together on a bunch of music videos that I did after graduating, on commercials and stuff like that. He was always my go-to DP and also one of my dearest friends. So yeah, it was just kind of natural. It was, when Iz asked me to sort of shepherd the project, and I was like, oh yeah, well, Ricky's going to shoot it because he's a genius.
Oh, brilliant!
It was pretty simple. And then he had his whole sort of, his crew of folks. Come on, he works with some of the best gaffers, grips, best boys in the city. So these are just some of the best people. And if he vouches for a project, they usually do it for pretty low rates, and they trust you, which is really quite humbling.
That's really good. So was there occasions where yourself, Isabel, and your DP would sit down and discuss the process? Or is it a case of you're both so happy with his work, you let him do what he needs to do and you guys do what you need to do?
I think Ryan, you and Ricky sat down to storyboard and get everything together, because Ryan was directing was in the director's seat for this one. But because I was going to be acting in it, I kind of just had to let go of the reins in that and just trust. I think really, I learned that I was told this coming up, but half of directing or 3/4 of directing is who you hire. And you hire the best that you can, and you treat them well, and you respect them, and you let them do what they can do. I so often see on sets where people hire great people, but then don't trust them to actually do what they're there to do. And especially for a low budget stuff like this, like, you got to let people, practice what they want to do, and really bring their A game, and just trust them. So I really think we did do that with for Martin. I think we try and do that with all of our stuff.
Good. And
Yeah,
I agree.
Amen to that.
I've seen a lot of people behave in different ways. I've been a victim of it, and I don't think it brings out the best in any project.
No, it doesn't. And it just, like, then you're sort of circling the drain with a bunch of egos, and then you come out with, whereas instead of being like, oh no, you can do, oh yes, okay, wait, yeah, all right, let's go do it, you just end up arguing for hours, and it's not fun.
No, and it doesn't look great.
No.
And
the product always comes out lousy.
And you've both produced The Rest. Am I right by saying?
Oh yes, The Rest, yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I really like that. Really something special, because I love kind of dialogue driven pieces, especially. And I love films that have people of different ages in them a lot as well. Because a lot of the times we see in the UK for the last few years, especially, I've seen films that are just filled with young people or filled with old people. And the world doesn't really work like that. People from different ages have to interact and communicate and get on and live and all the rest of it. So The Rest, tell us about that film and your involvement in it as producers.
It started with my one of my old dear friends, Tim and Brown. He edited Will Eno's and Oliver Butler's feature film. Oh God, I'm blanking out on the name of it.
Not The Flea.
No. Well,
with Rainn Wilson.
With Rainn Wilson, yeah. Well, I'm blanking on the name, but it was with Rainn Wilson. Tim edited it for them. And he got very tight with the two of them. And then they approached him about doing a short film called The Rest that Will had written that Oliver was going to direct. And they wanted Tim to shoot it. And Tim was like, sure. And Will and Oliver were like, do you want to produce it? Like, do you want to put it together? And Tim was like, that's sort of not my thing. I don't really even know the first, bit of, putting together a short film, sort of a larger scope. So he just called me one day and was like, hey, do you want this to be a Precariat Films production? And I was like, send me the script. I was like, I love Will Eno. Like, he's a brilliant playwright, and Oliver is a brilliant theater director. So, I was immediately, interest was piqued. And then Isabel and I, we chatted about it, and a month later we were shooting.
Wow.
Yeah. And it stars Danny McCarthy, who I knew through friends in Chicago, because he's a really fantastic actor. I think he might be based here now, but he was certainly out of Chicago. And then, of course, it's Joyce Van Patten, who, like, holy shit, like, she was in, I was watching that recently. Fuck, what's the movie with her? Mikey and Nikki. With, oh, y'all know this. Who's the director? Terrible with names today.
Head blank.
But she's just like, she's a fantastic old school New York actress. And it was just a real joy to watch her on set. And we actually filmed in my friend's apartment in Morningside Heights. And so that was just a trip too, to see like these acting legends in my friend's living room, bedroom, where we had been having wine and drinks like a month or two before. Like it was just, that was amazing.
I love that you could get these talented people to come and act and do so in your mate's bedroom. I mean, because so many people would be like, well, where's the studio? Where's this, whatever? And you've taken them there and they've been able to perform in such a brilliant way in just the kind of like real environment. Do you find that a lot of actors somewhat are not happy when they're in real environments. They would rather be in a studio? Or how does it work with your company?
Have you thought of upgrading your cinematography game? Would you like to have an ASC cinematographer mentor you for free? Join veteran cinematographer Suki Medenzovic, ASC, Disney, Pixar, FX Networks, Netflix, American Horror Story. As he teaches you how to create beautiful images using 3 lighting techniques he has mastered on film sets over his 30-plus years in the film industry. Each technique uses basic, low-cost lighting equipment so that anyone can achieve beautiful visuals no matter your project's budget. If you want to take your cinematography to the next level, visit filmmakingconversations.com to sign up for instant access.
In terms of the talent that we've worked with so far, I mean, I think there's always certain aspects of on-location shooting, whether it's a really sweltering apartment or a walk-up, whatever. There's always more obstacles with on-location shooting. It's just the nature, sort of the beast. No, I mean, I think more than the actors, it's me. I want to shoot on sound stages and studios. I'm the one who doesn't want to go up into apartments and tenements and stuff. So I think it's less the actors involved, and it's more this guy. Because I'm such a homebody too. I hate going out. I'm just like one of those guys. Me and my fiance would just like stay on the couch. So
Okay.
Yeah. I would say it's me. I'm the one who wants to always be in the studio.
But I can see from a director's point of view or a DP, like what you need when you're in a studio and things like that makes it easier in a very different way. Because when I looked at the film itself as well, now I know it was shot in someone's bedroom. The lenses you would use may have to be quite wide, or how far back can the DP have gone to get certain shots in where 2 of them are in shot, rather than maybe just a close-up. All of these things at times are harder in real locations rather than they are on a studio, on a studio set in a studio. So it's a kind of yin and yang situation. And even your sound guys, not getting a shadow of the boom in shot and things like that, which can really take away from things if you have to go into post and try and remove the lead, the shadow, and you're rendering for 6 hours when you're trying to get the video exported because of that type of thing. But it's clear stories really matter to both of you. When I look at your website and I see your work and I see the other people involved with the company on the website, when you look them up, why is it that stories matter so much to both of you?
I think it's a good question. I think stories are just fundamental to how we understand ourselves as humans. It's how we process. It's how we learn. And, storytelling and theater evolved from, either burial ceremonies where, we were telling stories about the person who we lost and lowering them into the ground or however, or across a campfire talking about, like way back when. This is how they theorize, this all came about. But I think it's a really important way of how we process. So the stories that we tell become vital in how we understand the world and how we frame it. I think, and the more that, women we're able to tell our story, queer people were able to tell our story, trans people are able to tell their story, it really, it helps us in how to understand them and ourselves. So sorry, you just sort of took me back to so many arguments or debates I would have at drama school where some people would be like, well, we're not saving the world here with acting. And we're not, but it still is important. Everything has its place.
Completely. I like it when you said it goes back to maybe sitting around a log fire and people telling stories. Stories have been with us forever. So, and there's a reason for that, obviously, isn't there? Ryan, why do they matter to you so much? And earlier you mentioned the craft that you want involved with stories. So why do stories matter so much to you?
It's just always sort of been such a fundamental part of my life, storytelling. It's I too am sort of taken aback in a good way by the question, to my childhood, just, my parents telling me stories, or, my dad coming home from the fire department and telling me stories about his day, or sort of telling me about, what it was like to fight a fire and stuff like that. And I just sort of, that kind of stimulating the recesses of the imagination is, yeah, you're not on Higgins' boat at Normandy, but it still is pretty important. It actually does, really does matter. And it's I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's just something that's so innate in me, that's just so, I can't imagine my life not telling stories. I feel like even the way we approach, all of our films, it's like story first, and everything else sort of revolves around that. And that's actually no disrespect to any other filmmaker or artist who's like, no, they want to do cool stuff with camera or a light. And like, it's more sort of an aesthetic art that way. And like, that's no judgment on that. I think that's some of the best films ever made. But I just, for me personally, and I think I speak a little bit for Iz as well. I don't have a really succinct answer for you, and I feel bad, but it's just sort of intangible, but it's there.
Do you do theater work as well, Ryan? Do you direct theater as well?
I have not directed theater. I did a ton of theater. So when I was at LaGuardia Performing Arts, I studied opera. So I was like chest deep in theater, opera, and so I have a lot of experience. I even got to perform at Carnegie Hall one time, which was like quite a trip.
Wow.
But no, I've never directed theater. I probably would love to.
I think you could.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm leaning towards it.
Yeah, I feel like directing theater is definitely going to happen. For me, I just think it's the right project in whatever we're doing next. But yeah, I have a lot of experience in theater, but I haven't directed theater yet.
Okay, so there you go, Isabel. The next thing you write is going to be a theater production for Ryan to direct.
There's certainly things on the docket that once
there's a lot.
Good. So what can we see from you both next?
Got exciting stuff on the docket here.
Yeah, we got Ryan's feature debut, Canvas, which is an animated horror, fantastic trip of a film that has been making its rounds on the festival circuit. It's been doing really, really well. Premiered at Annecy in France, so that hopefully will be coming to you soon. We have my directorial debut, a feature film called Loud and Longing, which is which is about two childhood friends navigating trauma in New York City, about a group of queer artists. So we're finishing up that. We've got a horror film on the docket. We have a Western film on the docket. We just want to keep making movies. They're gluttons for punishment, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I think that's about the size of it.
That's amazing. And is it a feature film for you both then? Because you said 4 days for one of the short films you made. How long would it take to make a feature? How long did it take to make the feature Canvas?
So Canvas,
PTSD, sorry.
It was shot over the course of about 3 years because it was animated. So what we would do was that we would shoot plates with the various actors involved or whatever, and we'd shoot sort of like the baseline scenes. And then I would go into the post studio and I'd start rotoscoping, mocap. It has a lot of different animation styles in it. And it then basically I'd have, that scene finished, and then I'd be like, okay, where does the story go? So I was kind of writing the script on the fly.
Oh, okay.
Yes, which was maybe next time, I'm glad for our next, hopefully our next flick, Manhattan Exorcism, after Loud and Longing. It's a finished script. So it's nice and so no more writing on the fly.
Good. Sounds good.
It can be stressful, but yeah. So I would say, but probably if I had to tally it all up, 25 days of shooting.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
probably
right.
25 days of shooting. If I had to, actually, we probably will have to tally it up for distributors because they're definitely going to want to know. So I'm gonna this is a good practice. I think it's probably about between 25 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good practice. Give me the log line for Life and Longing.
Oh, Loud and Longing. This is a good quick fire.
Yeah.
Two childhood friends are on the cusp of career breakthroughs. Lucy is about to debut in a prestigious off-Broadway production, and Lucian is about to have his first solo gallery show. But on the cusp of their breakthroughs, both are forced to come face-to-face with childhood trauma, and they must rely on their diverse found family of queer artists and sex workers to help pull them through. I think that's
good. I like it. Wow,
that was good. That was
man.
You put her on the spot there, dude.
Yeah, I've never done that before, but I thought, let me try. Let's see, and it worked. If someone done that to me, I'd be like, sorry, mate, I'm gonna have to look up a PDF of what I've written about. I can't do that.
It's very important.
So I'm like, where's a PDF?
And
I gotta pull up.
Awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it. But guys, we're running out of time. So thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate speaking to you.
No, thank you.
And everybody go and check out the website. Then there'll be show notes in today's show notes. There'll be packed of information about both and their company where you can watch their films and everything else.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Damien. I love your podcast. It's awesome.
Yeah, wonderful.
If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please do hit the subscribe button or leave a review on iTunes.